Hello guys, and welcome back to another cold episode. Spyral is doing really well over in China for some reason. I do not know why, but it even won one of their bigger events with this weird amalgamation of cards in a 60 card list. Shoutouts to this name that I will not attempt to say because I genuinely do not know how to say it. But alas, something is happening in China that they are just doing much better with Spyral. And so I decided, do they actually have something here? Is there actually something that I should be looking at? So I took that list that you just saw and I played it in Master Duel, and I'm going to go over the card by card and the explanation for some of it. If you don't know how Spyral works, basically you utilize things like Quick Fix and Master Plan with their soft once per turns to search cards in order to basically get a whole bunch of bodies onto your side of the field, as well as the non-hard once per turns of Rescue to banish itself from the grave in order to Monster Reborn, as well as the Assault to special summon from the hand by banishing as well. Both of these don't have once per turns as well. Master Plan can search multiple of these as with that, so being able to get this card onto the field is pretty nice with things like a Big Red or a Rescue itself. All of these paired together to basically make a very functional, very consistent deck that just spams out their hand in order to go for a wide variety of Link monsters. Like, for example, Nightmare Griffin with Unicorn or with Curious, or into a Trigate Wizard as well. Trigate Wizard is a very, very powerful end board alongside Cerberus, Phoenix, and the Apollosa to basically prevent your opponent from really doing anything to actually out the board, which is kind of interesting. On top of that, Sleeper is an absolutely insane card that allows you to pop 2 basically every turn, which is very, very strong. So there you go. Let's quickly do the card by card and the explanation. Starting with Quick Fix. Quick Fix on summon searches a gear card, that being Drone, Big Red, as well as the... what's the other one? Last Resort. Those are the 3 cards that it searches. Drone, on normal or special, can look at the top 3 cards of your opponent's deck and change them in any order. Both of these have graveyard effects. Quick Fix revives itself, and Drone adds back a Super Agent. Super Agent can special summon itself by declaring the top card of your opponent's deck correctly, hence the Drone. They also have the Master Plan, which once per turn can add a mission card, which would be Rescue or Assault. These 2. And then on top of that, if it's sent to the graveyard, it is able to search out a monster as well as a Spyral Resort. Last Resort can equip itself to gain protection from targeting and card destruction for one of your monsters, such as Sleeper. And then Sleeper can banish 3 to special summon itself from hand, 3 Spyral cards specifically, to special summon itself from hand, and then once per turn during either player's turn, target a Spyral card and 2 cards your opponent, up to 2 cards your opponent controls, and destroy them. Then if it's destroyed, it wipes your field, and then it special summons a Super Agent from hand, deck, or grave. Now notably, with the Last Resort, it can't be destroyed, including by its own effect, meaning that you can go Sleeper, pop Self, and just pop 2, which doesn't pop itself, and then also pops 2 of your opponent's cards. That's why we're playing them. They're both also very searchable, because Last Resort also searches a card, non-hard once per turn. Once per turn, add a Spyral monster from your deck to your hand. Boom. Also, during the end phase, you shuffle a monster back from your deck in order to keep this guy around, or it just destroys itself, so there's that. On top of that, it adds target protection for all of your Spyral cards. The only Spyral card that can be targeted is Spyral Resort. So if you're able to start with this, that means that you're protected from things like Imperm or Effect Evader, which is very, very nice. So let's quickly do the rest of the cards and the explanations for why we're playing them. We have Magician Souls. It dumps Master Plan, which can be revived off of Big Red, or off of things like Rescue. I forgot to mention, Big Red is just a Monster Reborn. Literally, that's it. Yes, it's an equip card. It's just Monster Reborn. That's it. Anyway, it can also draw 2 cards, which is very nice because it can send things like Big Red, which doesn't get rid of the monster, and Rescue to the graveyard, which is also very nice. So we're playing the maximum amount of cards to get 2 Magician Souls. It dumps this for cost, and then it also gets a free body onto your field, which is also very nice. So we're playing the triple Illusion, triple Prep, and triple Magician Souls. On top of that, we're playing the Adventure Engine, since we don't necessarily need our normal summon nearly as much, because we can special summon most of our cards. So we're just playing a whole bunch of the adventure stuff, and it gives us an Omni Negate as well. And on top of all of that, it also gives us exactly 3 spells for Selene, which is pretty cool. The Fateful Adventure, the actual summon spell as well as the Draco back. All three of these allow you to go for the three counter Celine to special summon back a Master Plan, which is very, very cool. On top of that, Griffin's just good. We're also playing the Kashtira stuff, the 2 Fenris, the 2 Unicorn, 1 Wraith Soth, and of course, 1 Birth. The reason for this is pretty simple, but turns out being able to normal summon Master Plan is pretty good. Yeah, also Kashtira cards are pretty nice right now, because if your opponent happens to activate a Shingra Era, you can go a Rise Heart into Zeus, into wiping the opponent's board with just a single special summon of a Kashtira monster. So, pretty good. Next up, we have 1 Machine Dupe. Don't know why we're playing this. We're just playing one of it. But it's good. It's probably a thrust target, but we're also only playing 1 thrust. I don't know what's happening. I just took the list and ran with it. It worked. It worked really well. I don't know why we're playing a whole bunch of these one-offs, but alas, here we are. I would have preferred more Triple Tactics thrust. Going second was a pain. But there you go. We have 1 for 1, which is also pretty nice. Being able to special summon out the Quick Fix or the Drone, or heck, even the Magician Souls if you need to. All very good. We're playing also Where Art Thou? You add, if you control a level 1, you add a level 1. This card is very, very good. If you have Magician Souls, you get to add Quick Fix. If you have Quick Fix, you can add Magician Souls. Just a solid card. We have the 1 Foolish Burial Goods, the 1 Grass, the 1 Herald of the Abyss as a thrust target, I guess. 1 Triple Tech as a thrust target, I guess, or just because it's good. Yeah. The Adventure Engine, as I mentioned previously. We're also playing 2 Called By, as I previously mentioned as well. And then, of course, 1 Appointer of Red Lotus for a thrust target, or for Griffin. Because, yes, you can still set it off of Griffin, which is very, very nice. As for the extra deck, we're playing 1 Doulahan. Technically, the other guy was playing 2 Doulahans, and wasn't playing Cerberus. Cerberus came up a lot. It's actually just very nice. But the second Doulahan never came up. There was one time where it would have been nice to have a second rank 1 Xyz, but honestly, Doulahan is basically only here because it's the only rank 1 dark monster that requires 2 monsters, and is actually a different type than the other types of monsters that you would be able to go into for a Curious. That's kind of the only reason. It's very specific, and it's not really all that great, but it is a UR, so you could play something else here. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't, I promise. Granted, this deck is already incredibly expensive. We're playing the 1 Rise Heart, very good. 1 Zeus, and that's it for the Xyz. As for the Link monsters, we're playing 1 Link Karibo, turns out a lot of level 1s, very good. We're playing 1 Spyral Double Helix, which basically just requires 2 Spyral monsters and can special summon from the deck a monster, any of your Spyral monsters to a card this, or to a zone this card points to, and you just have to declare the top card of your opponent's deck correctly. Now, we have a few ways to check that. Super Agent, which is very easy to search, as well as the Drone, so that's not too big of a deal. We then have 2 Cerberus as well, or sorry, 1 Cerberus, 1 Phoenix, which is very nice to set up before our end board, because Phoenix protects from battle destruction, and Cerberus protects a co-linked monster, I should say, from card destruction. So, there you go. A Barricade Board Blocker is basically in here to pitch a card. That's it. He's just here to pitch a card. Trigate Wizard for the Omni Negate. If you don't know, if it's co-linked with 3 other monsters, it's an Omni Negate, which is very good. It also negates and banishes, which is very, very strong. We have 1 Curious to send the Appointer, as well as 1 Griffin to grab back said Appointer. We have 1 Nightmare Unicorn as well, just to like spin away a card. We have 1 Celine, we have 1 Apollosa, and we have 1 Access Code. Access Code is very, very strong as well. So that's it for the deck. Let's hop into the replays and show you how this deck performed. Alright, so here we are going first, and I'm going to show you the basics of how this deck should function. Now, we did draw the Appointer, so the end board that I go for is going to be a little bit different because of the Appointer and the stuff that I do. Also, one thing to keep in mind, you have to play quickly. This deck requires you to play quickly and to not really think about it because the deck just combos through so much, and it does require you to keep in mind your timer. I oftentimes end with less than 30 seconds on my timer after my first turn. Keep that in mind. We're going to prep up right in order to grab the Illusion of Chaos. Illusion of Chaos is going to activate in order to grab up the Magician Souls. We're going to put back the Illusion of Chaos because I want the rest of my cards. We're going to go for the Magician Soul special summon by sending to the graveyard the Spiral Master Plan, then normal summon the Quick Fix. Quick Fix will grab up Big Red, which will then allow us to go Big Red in order to grab up the Master Plan. This is the core starting combo. Almost every time, this is what you are going to go for. most of the time. Yeah, basically every time. The reason for this is because it allows you, 1, to get 2 Spyrals onto your side of the field, 2, to get the Search of Master Plan, and 3, to potentially get a Magician's Souls to send Rescue to the graveyard. That's basically it. If you get ashed, if you get impermed on your Magician's Souls or anything like that, that's fine. Your Magician's Souls sending the cards to the graveyard is much more valuable than the actual draws most of the time. So, there you go. We're going to go for the Master Plan here. We're going to activate the Master Plan, grab a second Rescue, and then send both Rescues to the graveyard, drawing 2 cards. As you see, not exactly great draws, but we do have 2 Rescues in our grave. We're now going to link into the double Helix. Yes, it does say Super Agent up here because its name becomes Super Agent, which is very important. Do keep that in mind. We're also going to add it to our hand off of the effect of our the Master Plan, the Spyral Resort, as well as Super Agent. We also grab drones here, and the reason for this is because we can pitch the drone to get it into the grave to special summon it back with a Rescue. We will then, use the effect of the Quick Fix in grave to special summon itself. Because we control a Super Agent, we can now special summon it, and this is not a once per turn. Keep that in mind. So we're going to grab a Last Resort. Here we can go for the Rescue, and we can special summon out our drone to guarantee that we know what is on the top of our opponent's deck. So we change the top of the deck, and we can reveal a Dimensional Barrier, calling trap cards, and grabbing Sleeper Agent to hand. Now, this can either special or add to hand, which is very important here, because I didn't really have anything that I wanted to special, and I really wanted that sleeper, and I wasn't going to get another search, so now is the best time. I'm also going to call traps again, and go for the Super Agent. My opponent's on Labyrinth, and I know this. However, we're going to go for Selene here. Activate the Selene effect, and we are going to have 3 exactly, the Big Red, the Prep, and the Spyral Resort, 3 spells. And we can special summon back our Master Plan. Master Plan can then grab another Rescue, and then we can we can Exee into Duel Hand. The reason I go for this here is so that I have the ability to use the Quick Fix once again. I go for the Barricade Board Blocker. This is kind of a mistake. I realistically shouldn't have gone for this one, but it does allow me to get the Rescue into the graveyard. I was kind of going for the Curious, and then I realized, oh, I don't really need to go for Curious here. I'm still going to make it, but I do have the Appointer in my hand. So we're going to grab the Assault here. And we're going to link off here for Nightmare Griffin. I'm just going to go straight into the Nightmare Griffin. Again, there's no real point in me going for anything else here. So I'm actually just going to set the Big Red just so that I have an additional card. We draw into a second Ash because this is co-linked, so it gets to draw a card after it, discard it and set. But I also was able to send the Assault. Not really that big of a deal, but there you go. Here we're going to reborn the double Helix to give this guy another co-link, and then we're going to go for the Quick Fix here, sending a card in order to special summon the Quick Fix. And I do a bit of an oopsie by not being able to grab another card by not putting it in the link zone, but that's fine. I'm just going to go for the Cerberus here to give additional protection for these guys. Go for the Sleeper, attach the Last Resort, set to, and pass. Now this isn't nearly what I should have been going for. Again, I went for the Curious line when I didn't need to, so it kind of screwed up some things there. But Nightmare Griffin is preventing anything from actually activating on my opponent's side of the field. We have the Sleeper, but also I know that my opponent is playing Labyrinth. I should have gone for the Apollosa into Trigate, into Cerberus and Phoenix co-linked. That would have been much better, and then of course with the Sleeper as well. But honestly, it's not really that big of a deal. And you'll see why in a second. And it's because of this card right here. Now, I do end up going to the main phase, which is a mistake on my part, but I do go for the Appointer of the Red Lotus. I should have fired this in draw phase, but oh well. So I'm going to reveal my hand, which is a bunch of ashes, and my opponent reveals their hand, and they had a rivalry in there, but I actually banished the Ariana, even though I could have banished the Lord, but I do think that that is the correct play. They're going to go for Duality, which is a weird card to be playing in Labyrinth, but alas, I'm going to ash that. Very simple. I know that they don't have anything else. It's 3 traps, so I'm like, that's fine. They're going to set 3 and pass, and I go, haha, I'm going to pop here. Oh, right, this card. Yeah, Lord of the Heavenly Prisons does protect there, but you see the point. This is why I should have gotten rid of the Lord instead of the Ariana. It's really not that big of a deal, though, and you'll see why. So we're gonna go to the draw phase. They're gonna activate Dogmatical Punishment, and I go, cool. And then they're gonna activate Entis. I'm like, no, I drew Called By. I also have another Called By right here. So I'm like, no, not gonna happen, Entis, thank you though. So we're gonna Called By that. And now we can basically proceed from here. I'm just going to go to the main phase, activate the big red, and we're going to special summon the double helix. Now, double helix, it doesn't actually have a co-link or a link, so I'm just going to search out the quick fix here with my resort. At that point, my opponent concedes. Yes, they did have a rivalry, but I could have just popped it with sleeper. As soon as it flips up, I just pop it. It's not that big of a deal. Also, the last card that they had set was Dimensional Barrier, which is what I put to the top of their deck, so not really anything they could do. Good game. Alright, so what happens if we actually draw grass? So here's the thing. This deck, I just gotta preface, this deck really isn't great going second. It's not terrible, but it's not great. And the main reason for it is because basically you're doing the same thing going second as you are going first, which is go through your combo. It's just whether or not you can play through the disruption or not. That's basically it. If there isn't a Rise Heart on your side of the field and you do not have a way to out it in your hand, scoop it. You're just not going to play that game. If you draw for turn and you don't have a way to out a Rise Heart, scoop it up. It's fine. But that's okay. Well, we're going to play more Spyral. We're going to go for the Resort, and I'm actually going to grab a Drone here. And the reason I go for the Drone here is because I want to see what they're playing. One, but two, this also was kind of a bait for Ash. I was trying to see if they have Ash. Granted, I have the Called By, so if they do have Ash, I can still, you know, Called By it with and guarantee the green. But I also go for the Drone here because I'm like, okay, most likely I'm going to hit something like a Quick Fix that I can revive with this big red that I have in my hand, or just like anything realistically. So I think Drone is probably the best option. That's just my thoughts. So I go for the grass here. We mill a whole bunch of cards. Nothing really activates, but we do have now a lot of cards in our grave, and most notably a Quick Fix. So we're going to go for the Quick Fix. Quick Fix actually just adds the Last Resort here, and now we can link for the Spyral Double Helix. We can activate the Double Helix here, calling monsters, and hey, look at the Maxi on the top of our opponent's deck. We're going to go for the Master Plan here from the deck, grab up Rescue, and now just link off into the Selene. Of course, we have way more than just 3 spells, but we're going to, now, obviously, I would like to Chain Block. I can't. This is a mandatory effect. So yeah, the Master Plan is going to activate. We're going to grab the Sleeper and the Spyral Resort. We're going to activate the Spyral Resort, grab up ourselves we're going to actually special summon here. We can grab the Magician Souls, which is another great thing about Selene, being able to special summon the Magician Souls. And then we're going to pitch 2 with Magician Souls in order to draw 2. Again, mostly just pitching cards is what you want. We're going to grab the Super Agent, call monster, activate the effect. The Quick Fix, special summon itself back. Grab another another Drones, link off into the Barricade Board Blocker. Here I'm actually going for the Curious again, even though a pointer's there, but it's okay because it still leads us to the Griffin, which is ultimately what I'm going for. Now I think my opponent is on Makono, which is why I do decide to go for this route, because I think having a Trigate isn't very good, because it does require you to have like everything else, whereas Griffin's at least like there's a few more things that kind of you have to play around. It's not really great, but at the very least we still get the pointer, which is the important part. So out comes Drone. We're going to go into the Duel hand, and here is 3 darks of different attributes, of different types, to go for Curious. Curious is just going to send a Rescue, since we already have the pointer in the grave, and then we're going to go for the Quick Fix as well. Grab up Drone. We're going to go for the Assault, special summon said Drone, and then link those 2 off into Griffin. Griffin can then activate its effect, pitching the red, or the big red, in order to grab a pointer of the Red Lotus. We still have 2 Called Bys as well. We're going to banish it in order to special summon out to the Double Helix, which we can then use to go into Cerberus. Special summon out to the Sleeper, and equip it with the Last Resort. Set 2 and pass. I do just have this random Super Agent on my field, but that's okay. And also, notably, Barricade Board Blocker does have an effect to add back Birth. So I just do, so that I have insane follow-up. Because guess what? Yeah, of course we have Fenrir and Unicorn both in the grave. Now granted, Unicorn doesn't really do anything here. Unicorn only searches Birth. So, but I still have the Fenrir in the grave. So that's insane follow-up. I'm going to go in the draw phase and actually activate this correctly. You didn't see that. Hold on, let me get back to that moment. Okay, sorry about that. So, as we can see, we know the Maxi. We already knew that was in hand because that was what was on the top of their deck that we gave them, basically. And Lava Golem. So this is the big thing with a pointer, and why I didn't go for the Trigate line, because, yeah, a pointer of the Red Lotus is very, very good at being, that's the card that I want to get rid of. Let's get rid of it. So yeah, I'm going to obviously get rid of the Lava Golem. The rest of that hand, kind of doesn't really do a whole lot. But they are going to go for the Ohime here. They're going to go for the Water Air Bescus. They're going to go for the Water Air Bescus. I don't know how to say this card's name. Realistically, I should wait. I should allow them to equip and then wait for it to actually activate its effect. I keep doing this. It's just a mistake on my part. They're going to go for the Hidden Armory to now grab that card. Again, just activate it again. Getting rid of the Griffin. Honestly, that's not really that big of a deal. They're going to go for the Huli. I'm like, that's fine. They go for the Huli, which is target protection. I'm like, that's fine. As long as I'm not dead, this should be fine, and I don't think that they have anything else. Yeah, I really wasted my sleeper. I don't really have any other points of interaction because they were able to get rid of my Griffin. But alas, they go for the Maxi, or they go for Maxi because I'm going to special summon the Celine. Yes, you can special summon Celine at quick effect speed. It's crazy. So yeah, I'm going to special summon with Celine, but I'm going to call by the Maxi because no, I have 2 called bys that aren't really going to do anything. They're going to grab Rivalry, and I'm like, that's fine. They're going to banish to send a card to the graveyard. They send another of their equips and walk into Sleeper, dealing 28. I hate the way that works. It's really frustrating. But alas, here we are. I do have Magician Souls, which is pretty pog. So we're going to go and start with Birth. Birth, grab a Fenris. Fenris, grab a Unicorn, just because. Then we're going to go for the Sleeper here, and I'm actually going to force out the Rivalry, because I don't want them to actually use this, because it could be annoying. They're going to go and take my monster. I'm like, that's rude. Anyway, I'm going to grab Master Plan here, which then allows me to send the Spyral Resort to the grave. Here we can just link into access code, and at this point the game is over. So we're going to activate the access code targeting our Link 4, or sorry, our Cerberus, and then we're going to pop this one, which means that they're no longer target protected. They're going to grab it back their equip, and I'm like, that's fine. We're now going to pop the second equip and just send my Celine to the grave, and then we're going to banish again and pop that last one, and at that point the game is over. I have lethal on field, and yeah, access code. Cool. Alright, so here we are going second, and I'm not gonna lie, Maxi is the reason why you can even go second with this deck. That's not entirely true. There are definitely Spyral builds that you can use to go second, like for example Spyral Master Plan, or not Master Plan, Spyral Tough. But Maxi, that's kind of our play. Anyway, they're going to normal summon the Fenris, and they're going to grab up Scareclaw Cache. They're then going to activate the Scareclaw Cache here, banishing a card. I draw Ash Blossom, which is fun. They're going to go for the Rise Heart. They're going to just keep special summoning. I don't know what they're doing. But this is why I'm basically just here to show you, like, hey, we know Maxi, this is kind of how you win. But we do have a few other hand traps, and this card in particular, or this engine, the Kashtira engine, you will see is why we're actually able to even play this game, because I draw into the Unicorn very near the end there of their turn, but this does allow me to basically, hey, they're going to activate the Shingra Era, they're going to special summon out of Fenris, and I go, cool, you activated Shingra Era, now I get to go for the Rise Heart here, and just entirely wipe your board. I deal with the Fenris, doesn't really matter. We're going to activate our cards because it's during the standby phase, or not the standby, during damage calc, and they didn't happen to keep in a Rise Heart here on the field with multiple materials, so I just get to go Zeus, wipe their field, and then go off in combo, and they realize that the game is over, and just concede. So, yay, Maxi. But again, it's the Kashtira stuff. That's kind of how you go second. Alright, so once again, we are going second, and once again, we do have a Maxi. This is a different game, I promise, because my opponent goes for the Ash Blossom here. I know, crazy. Here, we actually drew Thrust. It's Makono going first, which is very odd, but alas, we do have Thrust, so at the very least, we can do something. So, here's basically what our goal is. Play through the Disruption, just doing the same thing. As you see, we can combo quite extensively, depending on what our opponent has. Now, we know of the one Set Trap Rivalry, which basically is just a negate. That's all that it is. You target a face-up monster, equip it with the negate equip card, and that's basically it. Now, to be fair, had they just negated this quick fix, I might have just lost. That game probably is over. I think I probably just go Zeus and like go from there. But if they just go, I'm gonna negate that quick fix, I do lose. However, that's also not a really good play against Spyral. I'm just saying, if they had done that, I probably lose. But alas, here we go. We go for the ARF. We grab up the Magician Souls. We go for the Magician Souls. We dump the Master Plan. And I'm like, cool, don't have a DD Crow. Oh, fantastic, you don't. So, we're going to grab up the Rescue. My opponent is going to go, or sorry, I'm going to go for the Souls to draw 2. And this is where they decided to Rivalry. Now, this isn't a bad Rivalry. Drawing 2 cards is pretty strong. But I already got the Rescue into the graveyard. At this point, the game is over. Right? At this point, negating that is terrible. I'm going to go for the Celine. I'm going to activate the effect. Now, this is a cheeky play. Obviously, they basically always do this with Makono, but it is kind of interesting because I only have 2 spells in my grave, and that's the 3rd one. If they didn't have a 4th on their side of the field, this actually would have been a really good play from them, because I wouldn't have gotten enough counters on my Celine. Now, it doesn't matter, because that's exactly what I was planning around. I was like, oh, we have plenty of enough. It's fine. But yeah, we're going to add to our hand the Resort, as well as the Super Agent, and here we can go for the Celine, bringing back our Master Plan. So we're going to grab up another Rescue, and then we're going to search out the Sleeper here with our Resort. We're going to banish the Rescue in order to special summon another Quick Fix, activate the effect of the Quick Fix to grab up Last Resort. Now we're going to link those off into the Spyral Double Helix, which we can now utilize. Now we can actually activate the effect of the Quick Fix, pitching, I believe, another Rescue in order to special summon it and grab another Big Red. Here we can special summon again the Master Plan, search out the Assault, and now we can link off into Barricade Board Blocker, again, just to kind of pitch a card. I put it over here, I don't know why, this is a mistake, but it's mostly just to pitch the Assault so that we can special summon the Drone and have Drone stack the top of our opponent's deck. Hey, it's a Kaiser Coliseum, cool. Now we can special summon the Super Agent and go into Access Code. At this point, the game is over. Again, I call a spell, go for another Master Plan, go for Rescue, Access Code, pop the back row, link off into Nightmare Cerberus, just to pitch a card out of my hand, popping that last monster. And again, the game's been over for a while. I don't know why Makono chose to go first. I lost the coin flip. They chose to go first. Okay, cool, good game. Alright, we're back with the deck, and honestly, this deck is very fun to play. However, because I don't hate my opponents, I choose to not play this very often, because it is very awful to play against. I love Spyral. I think it's a very cool deck, and I love the way that it interacts. It's not very, linear, like, for example, Adamantipator, or most other combo decks for that matter. It is something that you really do have to think about your, individual lines, and think about where you're getting your cards, what you're getting, what, you need to do with them, setting up a little, a few steps ahead, similar to, Pearly, right? You don't have to think, 20 steps ahead, but you do have to think a few steps ahead, which I do think is cool. However, 1, the timer in Master Duel does matter, and it came up every single game. Every game that my opponent didn't immediately concede, the timer came up. It's kind of frustrating. 2, this deck is very unfun to play against, because basically you sit there for a 10 to 20 minute combo. Okay, maybe not 20 minutes, but a 10-minute combo. As you basically don't get to do anything, because most of the time your opponent just, if you hand trap it, it's not really going to do anything. Unless maybe Nibiru does something, depending on their hand and depending on how far along they are, or whether or not they have an Appaloosa or not. But the fact of the matter is, honestly, there's not a whole lot that you can do to beat this deck if it goes first. Yes, you can hand trap it with Maxi. Maxi just automatically kills them most of the time, because they could potentially deck you out, but then again, if you are actually having a hand trap, it could just kill them. So again, not very fun to play against. And the going first combo does oftentimes end on a really, really strong board, as you saw there, with things like Nightmare Griffin to prevent monster effects, the Appointer to rip a card out of your hand, as well as Sleeper to pop 2. Kind of crazy. You could also end on the Trigate stuff, still with this Sleeper to pop an additional 2, which is an Omni Negate, an Appaloosa, and protection from destruction of any kind, battle or card effect. So, yeah, it's not exactly the most fun, but I do love this deck, and I do love coming back to it from time to time. And this deck was surprisingly consistent. Normally I have a hard time actually having a consistent deck with Spyral, but this deck was oddly consistent. I don't know why it was so consistent, but it was. Being able to just do your combo most of the time was pretty nice. The biggest problem is Maxi. Again, if you don't see Ash, if you don't see Called By, Maxi does just kind of kill you, because you kind of need to go for everything, unless you see your adventure engine. At that point, you just kind of set on the adventure stuff and be like, cool, go. So lots of interesting things that this deck does, in particular playing the adventure engine, playing the Kashtira stuff. All in all, I do like this deck, and I'll probably be revisiting it again, just because I did have some fun with it. But hopefully let's give some more time for the people on the Master Tool ladder before I torture them again with Spyral. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you guys did indeed enjoy. If you did, like us very much, I'll appreciate it. And if you want to check out more content like this, as well as more Yu-Gi-Oh!, then just be sure to subscribe. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and remember to always stay frosty. Bye-bye. Shout out to the Frost Guard, my members. Thank you guys so much for the support, and I hope you enjoy the content.